Good afternoon. I would now like to call to order our meeting today for the Allegheny County Board of Education, Tuesday, December 7th at 4:04 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, Mr. Llewellyn will read executive sessions from November, closed session summaries from executive session held on November 9th.
The Allegheny County Board of Education met in closed session on November 9th, 2021 at 3:30 p.m. at Mountain Ridge High School. The purpose of the closed session was to consult with legal counsel and to engage in administrative function. The vote to close the session was unanimous, and the topics discussed were board communication policy, bullying policies. The meeting was closed under provisions of the General Provisions Article of the Maryland Code, Section 3-305B7.
Thank you, Mr. Llewellyn. Moving on to the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Farrell, second. Second by Ms. Frank. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We have, I believe, Mrs. Cannon and Coach Alkire here to recognize homecoming players from this year's homecoming game.
All right, with me today, I have both Bryce Shade and Tony Palmisano. In the homecoming game, Bryce was named Offensive Player of the Game. Bryce had a stellar performance, finishing with 4 carries for 44 yards, 3 first downs, and a touchdown. He also went 7 for 10 passing for 70 yards and another touchdown pass to Brevin Stubbs. That really gave our team a boost to get over the top. Tony Palmisano was named Defensive Player of the Game. Tony finished with 2 tackles and 2 interceptions. Tony played his role of lockdown corner to perfection and forced Allegany to throw to secondary receivers. Both of these players wanted to dedicate these awards to their teammate, Saquon Jenkins, who they played homecoming in honor of just 2 days after his passing.
We'd like to present you with these awards. Thank you.
I'm going to change the order if Coach Alkire and whoever's here from the state championship football team could come forward and say a few words, please.
All right, so with me I have Blake White, Tony Palmisano, Bryce Shade, Jace May, and Xander Jenkins. All of these guys started one way or another, some both ways, on this year's state championship team. It's an honor to come before you as the 1A state champions representing the strongest county in 1A Maryland. This year was a banner year for Allegany County as we had 2 schools battle in Annapolis for the title. Coach Patterson and Mountain Ridge had a very successful season this year and should hold their heads up high. Their future is bright. I would also like to congratulate Brian Hansel and the Allegany Campers on a fine season as well. When the final rankings came out for the state, Allegany County had the top 3 schools in 1A, a feat that has probably never happened before. So congratulations to Allegany County on a great season. This year's Fort Hill Sentinels finished the year 12-0, outscored their opponents 506 to 152, and only trailed for approximately 7 total minutes all season. They faced COVID protocols that kept them away from their norm, played a game with only 4 actual linemen against a team that went deep into the Pennsylvania playoffs, and unfortunately lost a teammate to senseless violence. They had moments of joy and victory, and they had moments of pure anguish. They saw an event that no one, especially children, should ever have to witness. In their darkest hour, they came together and somehow found a way to overcome. Regardless of what would have happened the rest of the way, they'd have still been champions. I'm so happy for them that they were able to finish the season on a high note and fulfill their final word to Quan. Quan, this championship was for you.
Okay, congratulations, guys. At this time, we have Coach Brandon Reed to recognize a golf student.
First and foremost, just want to take a moment to congratulate all athletes being recognized here today for their hard work and accomplishments this year. Darian Bauer, senior at Allegany High School, is being recognized today for his long list of accomplishments this golf season. Darian led the Allegany golf team to 33-3 record and repeat West MAC team champions this year. He also won his second West MAC individual championship at Oakland Golf Club. He continued a strong performance by becoming the first Allegany golfer to win the 1A, 2A West Regional Championship at Black Rock Golf Course, where he qualified for the state tournament. He finished the season by competing at the Maryland State Golf Tournament at the University of Maryland in October. He had an impressive first day that qualified him for the championship round the second day, and he went on to finish 13th individually out of the entire 1A and 2A level across the state. Darian's hard work and dedication to golf and academics has made myself, his family, Allegany High School, and his community all very proud of all he has accomplished this season. Darian plans to attend college next year to major in business and play collegiate golf. Darian could not be here today as he's currently at basketball practice, but he asked that I pass his message along saying, "I'm extremely honored to be recognized today. It was my honor to represent Allegany High School in Allegany County in the Maryland 1A, 2A State Golf Championship. He apologizes that he cannot attend today, but would like to congratulate all other athletes being recognized today for their accomplishments. Thank you."
Mr. Jeff Avey and Mr. Jackson for recognition of the Allegany High School Band.
I'm going to give Mr. Jackson time to get down the steps. He is older than I am, after all. 2 summers ago, when the pandemic was just beginning to unfold and all of our kids didn't have Chromebooks yet, and we're still figuring out what Schoology really is, we were wondering if a band class was even feasible, much less a band championship. I started having morning coffee on my days off that summer with Mr. Jackson and the other high school band directors, because there was no research yet. There were no aerosol studies. There was no indication that buying bell covers and organizing your rehearsals a certain way would even work against this pandemic. Over the course of time, we found out there would be no band competitions last year, and we had to strategize how can we somehow keep our foot on the pedal when Tournament of Bands terminated their season. We purchased, thanks to the resourcefulness of Larry McKenzie and Neil Grove, we were able to afford student subscriptions to a robust platform called Smart Music, where kids could engage with other instruments while learning music at home. We got optimistic about having some outdoor rehearsals, and then the metrics got worse, and we put up tents, and the metrics got worse, and we took all the tents down, and we didn't do any rehearsing at all. We came back to school, and if there's ever been an indication that the Allegany Band program is a resilient program, they accomplished something they've never accomplished before. But this process for them starts the previous year. And last year, when they began preparations for this year's marching season, They weren't positive there would be a marching season at all. But due to the resilience of the program, they pushed through. I've been observing the band all through my career, and I know they go from competition to improve score. But they had been winning states every year for decades, and they had been winning chapters for almost as long, just about every single year. And they always end their season with the same goal. We'll improve our score and hopefully make the top 5 at the Atlantic Coast Championships. They kept getting better at that task, and they got closer and closer. And if you turn back the page, last year, last time around, or the time before that, I'm sure some of you have heard stories about the year they missed it by that much, the year that no one knew what those judges were thinking, and dare I even mention the generator year. The good news is we can stop turning the page back and live in the moment. All of these years, the Allegany marching program has accomplished all of their goals year after year except for one. And now they are Atlantic Coast champions. And that's an amazing accomplishment. And their score went up. Yeah, and their score went up. During this pandemic, I've been looking in all corners of the fine arts program for resilience, engagement, grit, quality education, in this case, a quality music education that goes deep into their content. And you don't have to look any further than the educational opportunities of this program year in and year out, and this milestone is a tremendous indication of that. Mr. Jackson's musical leadership isn't limited to himself. He organizes one of the most impressive and robust music staffs filled with experts at all the different instruments, experts at marching, and his colleague, Matt Stoops, who's not here, not able to make it, magnified this performance with stunning visuals as the color guard director, and it goes with, and I don't know if anyone is aware of this, but Mr. Stoops has helped several marching bands and several color guards at just about every school in this region. And so he's a steward for this kind of art production, and he helps students all over the region, not just at Allegany High School. All the years of planning, of musical arranging, of bringing in the 9th graders for boot camp, all of the details that make one performance magnify and improve for the next from week to week to week, repeated year after year after year. I am certainly someone that does not take the program or this accomplishment for granted. Congratulations from the bottom of my heart, Allegany High School Band. Mr. Jackson, the podium is yours.
Thank you so much. I would just like to, first of all, recognize some of the students we have with us today. Anna Martz, our drum major, Genevieve Batman, my daughter, Lily Jackson, and flute player and piccolo player, Chastity Redhead, who was integral playing the keys, and Eliza Woods. And, of course, so many other kids that just sacrificed and worked hard. This was such a wonderful group. And I feel like you can barely hear me, but is this one? Jeff pretty much said everything. I would just like to say I want to recognize Heidi Loppert, our principal, absolutely an amazing person to work for. I can't tell you how much she and the staff, for that matter, at the high school makes this happen year in and year out, and even before, and Heidi's been on the administration at Allegany for years. It makes a huge difference. And if you're a parent that has had somebody in our program, and there's so many out there in the community, you know that she and others that have been part of that are a huge part of the success through the years that I've been there. And as I come to the end of my career, I want to say to Superintendent Blank, Jeff, who is also a supporter, and to the board that sits here, you guys, the support that you give the program, I'm so proud of our program. I'm so proud of the county, and I hope that's something that continues on when I'm gone, and that, because it's impressive. The way that you support the arts in Allegany County, it's not like this in other places. It's not like this in other counties in Maryland. Even more affluent counties don't support the programs like you all have through the years, the things that we're able to do. And it does matter. All you have to do is look at these wonderful kids that come through the program and what they do with academics and all that. So from the bottom of my heart, personally, thank you. It's been an amazing ride. Not only this year, but the entire time. And this championship this year is a culmination. We just try to get better and let the chips fall where they fall, and it's great that it finally happened. But this is for all the kids that go all the way back to beginning, even when I started at Westmar, the long defunct. It's been an honor. So I want to thank everybody for this recognition. And to you guys, bravo.
Okay, I believe next we have Coach Doug Baker to recognize his cross-country student.
Before I talk about Mary, I'd like to congratulate Zach Alcar. He and I do a lot of track together, and I was not surprised. I just knew when he took over the program, things would be fine. He's just a great person. If you don't know him as a person, and you only know him as a coach, you're missing out on a big chunk, because he's a great guy to have your kids working with. And I also had the pleasure of working with Mr. Jackson in Allegany for a couple years. I know him a long time ago. Boy, does he work hard. So sometimes we recognize kids, but a lot of times there's an adult there that's working pretty daggone hard too. I guess it was March the 13th. We were doing these 500 repeats. Anybody that's run track, you run all the way around the track, you get to the 300 mark, then you jog, and you got to sprint as hard as you can. Then you turn around as a kid and wonder why you even did it. And I was just watching this girl who I did not know. Every time she was the #1 girl, just the whole way through. And then like the 15th, we were out of school. So I never got to know Mary very well. I just knew there was some freshman girl that was really good. And then you flash forward to when we're back in school, and we got to run 3 cross-country meets, and then COVID closed it down again. And then somebody had the idea to make us run all winter. So we did another cross-country season last year in the winter, and there was Mary again running with nothing really. There were no states in that, but she just ran every day, her and a bunch of her friends. But, seeing her start from the 500 repeats, I know the kids at Fort Hill do a lot of basic stuff to get proficient at what they're going to do. And running might just seem like running, but it takes a lot. It really takes a lot of mental anguish. It takes a lot of cooperation from your friends. I think it's a lot more internal, though, so I'm very much a small figure when I present my kids. There's just so much that they have to do on their own, and they have to have the drive to do it. And she has that, and she never complains, and she hardly ever says anything except for pleasantries. I've never seen her in a situation that looks like it's going the wrong way, and I wish that will continue for her going on into the future. She was 5th this year at the state. She was 3rd at the region. And what was funny is we hosted a Turkey Day race. We had over 400 people there. People of all ages, little kids, all the way up to college runners and all the way up to adult runners. And Mary won the race. She beat over 200 people on Thanksgiving morning 200 females. There were about 160 guys in that race as well. But I thought, what a culmination of what we've been saying as coaches. We preach you run in high school for your high school and for the people around you, but you run during your life so that you'll be a better person. And I really see Mary as somebody that's going to continue to do that going on out into her future. Again, it's not first, but we don't worry about place. I'm just being honest with you. We don't go into any meets saying you have to be first, second, or third. If the meet goes the way it does and she finishes first, which she did in several events this past fall, it's a great experience. But I didn't see her hanging her head at the state meet. I saw her shaking hands with the girls around her, cooperating with her other teammates, carrying a smile on her face, and going up to receive her award. And if we had that mask off of her, I think you'd see the same thing today, a big smile, a real pleasant person, and just a great achievement. And I'm going to leave it at that. She's a wonderful person. She works hard, and she earns and deserves what she gets. Thank you.
I want to take a moment just to recognize and thank Tracy Leonard for her leadership throughout this fall season. It's been very unique, and without your leadership, all this couldn't have happened. So, and we're so excited about all of our athletics and extracurriculars. So, thank you, Tracy, for your leadership.
I just wanted to say, I know that when the school year started, there was still that COVID cloud lingering. We weren't sure where we were going to be at this point in the season. So I think I can speak on behalf of all the board members that we're so glad, and it's awesome that we're able to have all of you here today to recognize all of these achievements. So one more round of applause for all of our students.
I'll get him. Next on the superintendent's report, I have Mr. Morrill, who's the supervisor of transportation. I know that you've handed out a handout for our board members to review on. Yes, I'm going to talk for a minute, so everybody feel free, if you need to go, feel free to go. This would be the perfect time to go for our students. I know there's activities this evening. There's a lot of different kind of games, so we don't want to hold you all up. But what I've asked Mr. Morrill to do is just review for us how we do 2-hour delays, how we do closures, how we do early dismissals, and all of the above. So we have it here in writing. If you could just remind us. I know it's something that we go over every year, but it's best to be reminded as we go into the winter season. So thank you, Mr. Morrill.
As you can see, they treated the roads this evening. So, of course, all the students are anticipating that there will be no school tomorrow. But trust me, we've been accused that all we want to do is get the kids to school. And that is transportation's job. And that's what we look at. Normally what we would do is we'd send 3 people out, one in the eastern part of the county, one in the northwest, and of course one up through Westernport and so forth. They'd monitor the temperature of the roads, the air temperature. I'm supposed to be using that? So you can have people around. Yeah, to monitor the road temperature, the air temperature, and so forth. Any kind of precipitation that may be in the air, where they radio that back to the office. I normally start around probably 3 o'clock, 3:30. I'm running 135, well, 220 up to 135, 135 to 36, 36 to 936 Frostburg, then back down 36 to Mount Savage, back up through Cache Valley, LaVale, then back down Winchester Road and back to the shop, and I try to get back there about 4:45. The whole time I'm able to talk to the other drivers that are monitoring the roads. When I get back, I generally pull up AccuWeather, sometimes WeatherBug. They don't sometimes match. Look at the weather station, and then from the information we gather, we make an educated guess. Now, what they've been calling for tomorrow, last week they were calling for ice. Well, ice is something we generally don't mess much with because it's hard to deal with that. But now it's turned over to just a light snow. It was supposed to start at 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning. Now it's going to be starting probably around 7 to 9 o'clock in the morning. So there shouldn't be any issue. We do not have a bare road policy as far as snow. We do take, like I said, ice very seriously. Whenever I get back to the shop, generally around 5 o'clock or a little bit after 5, I try to make a call either to Jeff, or Jeff has actually given us, I guess, the reins to make these decisions on our own. Sometimes I will contact Mia and inform her of what we need to do, whether we need to cancel or whether we need to go for a 2-hour delay or a 3-hour delay. In the event of a 2-hour delay, of course, that call is generally made out to the parents before 5:30, so that way they have an idea. If it's something severe, for example, on the back of the page, it talks about advisories, warnings, and watches. If there's going to be a warning and we know the night before, then sometimes we will actually give the parents a little bit more head notice that there's going to be a cancellation for the next day. After the 2-hour delay, we have to go out and reevaluate the roads after that time. Generally, we try to get some kind of recommendation back in before 7 o'clock, so that way we can determine whether to send the kids into school. But that's pretty much, in a nutshell, what all transpires. I know that there's a possibility of maybe a virtual schooling. As far as I know, we will have snow days, so there will be days off, not like we've done in the past. These are things that we monitor and do the best we can.
Yeah, on that note, I'm meeting with Mr. Chaudhry, the state superintendent. We were to meet a couple weeks ago. It was rescheduled. Meeting tomorrow, 10:15. So when I get done that meeting, I'll be in touch with you. But as of right now, at least until our next board meeting, we'll continue. If we have a snow day, we're going to do it just like we've always done it, because obviously we need approval to move forward if we're doing virtual. And then we'd have to have some internal discussions about how to do that with devices and whether or not to use snow days, which we would most likely in the beginning. So.
Like I said, Mia puts the message out on the board's website, on Facebook and so forth. There's radio stations that she contacts, has put out there, so we try to identify as much as possible. In the office, of course, we generally take calls because we do have some parents that may question why the bus isn't running. You want to know what time the bus is going to be there. Of course, it's always interesting, if 2-hour delays and 3-hour delays, we get that big question from the parents, what time will the bus be there? Well, it's going to be 2 hours or 3 hours later. Any questions that you may have for me?
Yeah, I did want to remind everyone that it's a parent's decision. If you don't feel comfortable sending your child, you don't have to send your child. But the reason we go through this is to let everybody know the roads are being checked. However, snow can come at any time. So we're doing the best that we can. Having worked in that department, several of us in this room have worked in that department. As long as it doesn't happen right when you're getting ready to leave, you can't do anything about it at that point. But the parents always have that, they can always make that decision on their own if they feel uncomfortable sending their child. But we're doing the best that we can, and your department does an outstanding job each year. It's not a job that it's kind of like a referee. If we don't notice you, that means everything's great. But it certainly doesn't mean we don't appreciate what your department does, so thank you.
We've had some issues with snow squalls that happen, and sometimes they can dump as much as 2 inches of snow. One thing we do rely on is our county roads. They've been fantastic with helping us. Next times they'll post what they're coming out at 5 o'clock to start. We've told our drivers, you get in a situation where you feel it's unsafe, the road's slick or whatever, stop the bus, secure it, call in to us. We'll get the county roads out there and they'll actually assist. We've had them put gravel down on ice spots and help get our buses out of where they need to go.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Morrow? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mrs. Grove will be providing us with an enrollment update, please.
Good evening. I think everybody has in their packet the enrollment comparison report for the past three years. We like to provide that between November and December once we've filed our final enrollment, September 30th enrollment. You'll see the overall, we actually went up. If you look at the overall numbers, we went up this year from last year. But when you take into consideration our pre-K numbers last year were very low. and they're much higher this year. So overall, on a standard basis, we lose about 100 kids a year as far as in our total enrollment trend continues to be close to about the same. So I really have nothing else to report. It's as is, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions? Okay. That was easy, huh? Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Leonard Webb providing a Next Generation Scholars update.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me here today. I have Ms. Panoni here. I started this position, she's the state program coordinator. I started this position in January of this year, and I just appreciate the support from you guys, from the Principal Canane and Principal King here at the Career Center. They've supported me throughout being able to transition. The transition wasn't easy because when I started, it was at-home learning, so it was hard to connect with the students. And then we went to hybrid, and coming on the screen, there was a time when the students thought I was a hacker, so it was really hard to connect with them. You had students saying, somebody hacked the thing, and no, he's supposed to be here. But anyway, I wanted to go over 4 points from the program this year. I want to go over a couple of data points, which you have our end of the year final report for 2020. I also want to go over what we did last year, what we're doing this year, and the future. Student success and student persistence involves motivating them, encouraging them, and driving them toward that success. So I just wanted to highlight 3 data points that really show that. The students that were surveyed are increasingly becoming aware of the connection between their grades and their college of choice. In 2020, 76% said they saw the connection. In 2021, this year, 83% said they see the connection. Students acknowledge at least one adult advocate in their life. In 2020, that was 80%. In 2021, that's 92%. I think that really illustrates how we work together with the schools and the administration. And lastly, the one that really was a highlight for me is that the Next Gen students here at the Career Center have the highest GPA overall on average. They have the highest GPA as compared to their counterparts. The Next Gen students at Fort Hill, they're higher than them. The non-Next Gen students at Fort Hill, they're higher than them. And the non-Next Gen students that are here at the Career Center, they're higher than them by almost a half a percentage point. Their overall average GPA is 3.03, which I think shows that they're coming here prepared and ready to learn. So those are the points I wanted to highlight. As I said, there were challenges and obstacles when I started, but we were able to complete mock interviews with the 11th grade students, financial literacy with some of the 12th grade students, and those were completed in a few learning experiences. Although the hybrid learning had some challenges, we were able to get students involved. Over the summer, our goal was to have 25% participation in service learning hours. We actually had 27% in Allegany County, and that's with 2 events being canceled. Having said that, I just want to thank the following organizations for helping us do that: the Dapper Dan Club of Allegany County, the Children's Adaptive Sports League, the HRDC, the Cumberland Police, the Cumberland YMCA, the Children's League, and James Place Children's Center. They all allowed these students to have the summer learning opportunity. So I wanted to thank them. Now this year, I don't know if you're aware, House Bill 1245 has made the appropriation of $5 million to the Next Gen Scholar Program. In 2024, that becomes permanent. So what does that mean? We have now restarted to recruit since one of our cohorts has graduated. For 2021, we have now started to recruit 10th graders. We have sent mailers out, phone calls and emails to all 10th grade parents and guardians. We have approved 8. The The difference between us and the other 6 counties that have next-gen programs is that Allegheny County has an opt-in, where the other counties have an opt-out, which I don't know if you're aware of that. The opt-in makes the recruitment hard because I'm constantly chasing down students to get the papers in, or parents and phone calls, where the other counties, they have the opportunity to opt out of the program. I don't know if that's something you guys want to discuss. I've put that in the final report as well, but if you have any questions or concerns about that, I'm really open to getting the program, since it's now a permanent part of the appropriations for funding, if we can boost up our recruitment efforts. As far as the future goes, starting in next year, 2022 and 2023, we will be back in the middle school as a result of the appropriations. So that's all I have. Thanks for having me. If you have any questions, me or Ms. Pannoni would be happy to answer.
Are there any questions for Mr. Webb?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Fraley.
I kind of know the answer, but just what schools is the Next Gen program in Allegheny County?
Fort Hill.
Just Fort Hill, but so next year when you say middle school, it would be Washington Middle School?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, Mr. Wilson will be providing us with the screening process update.
All right, good evening, all. As you may know, the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration, otherwise known as OSHA, passed an emergency temporary standard on November 5th, 2021. This ETS is designed to protect unvaccinated workers, and it requires that employers of 100 plus more employees require their employees to provide either proof that they are fully vaccinated or with an approved COVID vaccination, or the employer submit a plan to weekly test those unvaccinated employees, along with the requirement of wearing face masks. This plan is to be in place by January 4th, 2022. On November 12th, 2021, the HR office started the first step in complying with this ETS, in which we asked permanent employees to answer a survey in which they would state their vaccination status and upload to a secure site their proof of a vaccination. This information is needed in order for us to start the plan of testing those unvaccinated employees and comply with the ETS. However, late in the day on November 12th, 2021, the ETS came under scrutiny and was stayed or paused in the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in the Fifth Circuit. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit now has jurisdiction over the ETS challenges, and the Department of Labor has filed a motion to lift the stay, and it's still in litigation as of today. I just wanted to let you know that that's the reason why we're doing that, but ACPS is continuing to collect the vaccination status of part-time employees to comply with the ETS, and we'll be developing a policy that is required by the ETS so that we will be prepared and have a plan in place should the ETS survive its current legal challenges. And I can tell you that with the permanent folks, we have 100% of our employees who have complied with the request for the survey. So we're moving on to the part-time folks, which are a little more difficult, but we'll get them. So any questions about that? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Blank.
Thanks, Mr. Wilson. That's overwhelming job to take on. We appreciate being able to handle the survey to be prepared in case we do have to move forward, depending on what the law requires us to do. I have a vaccine update from the health department. As you know, we had 6 schools. We cooperated with the health department to help students who wanted to get the vaccine, parents and students who wanted their students to get the vaccine from ages 5 to 11. We used South Penn, Mountain Ridge, Western Port, Flintstone, Braddock, and Cresaptown to try to make it easier for parents. We had 356 students that participated in getting the vaccine. And overall, from 5 to 11 in the county, as of December 3rd, there were 565 students that received the vaccine. Along with that, we try to make it easy for our employees who wanted to get the booster. 319 employees received the booster at those locations to help make it easier for our employees who wanted to get them. 12 to 17, right now 34.2% are fully vaccinated, and 39.2% have one dose. So we should be 39.2 within, I guess, the next 3 weeks or so. So that's the data, that's the information the health department wanted me to share with you this evening on the vaccine.
Are there any questions for Mr. Blank? Okay, thank you. Moving on to unfinished business, turn it over to Mr. Llewellyn.
You have before you for second reading policy KB. You'll recall last meeting we considered KB for first reading and along with the regulation. This just regulates parents or guardians coming into the schools to conduct observations. This policy permits that so long as the observations do not interfere with the learning environment or the privacy of other students. Again, this is second reading, so if you pass it tonight, it becomes policy.
Ms. Fraley.
Motion to approve the second reading of policy KB.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Frank. All those, or any discussion, I'm sorry. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, this time we will move into the hearing of constituents. Just as a reminder, you are limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per individual, and topics excluded are individual personal issues, comments identifying individual students or staff members, matters that are on appeal or may be appealed, topics for which the board schedules formal public hearings, or advertising or solicitation of products. Signed up to speak is a Sean Pfeiffer present. Okay, Andrea Noschel. Carrie Wolford.
Hello. May I? Because as I'm speaking, I'm not going to be able to see, so apologize. I started out thinking I was going to start one way, and my mind changed pretty quickly. Something that concerns me. When I was in elementary school, I memorized the preamble of the Constitution. My children don't know. And they've spent years in this very school system, and it breaks my heart that they don't know and understand their constitutional rights. And so we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That's we the people. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that government long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. According, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. So, I have this quote here. The greatest tyrannies are always perpetuated in the name of the most the noblest of the causes. That's Thomas Paine, one of our founding fathers. So what we're seeing today is tyranny. We're seeing federal overreach. We're seeing our federal government step in to our school system. We're seeing decisions made in Annapolis for our students here in Allegheny County, and that is not right. It is time for we the people, it is time for the parents to stand up and speak up for our children, because this is unacceptable. When our children have a 99.99 whatever percentage it is, I'm sorry, I do not know the exact percentage, survival rate for COVID, and they are being forced to wear a mask to school for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. These masks are more of a hindrance than they are a help. The virus molecule is much smaller than the fabric of this mask. If you can smell your neighbor's perfume, that virus can go through. It's a fact. When you're touching the mask, you're bacteria. You're touching all sorts of things, and that is going onto the mask. You're creating the ability for all sorts of infections. You're creating the possibility of bacterial pneumonia, which in the Spanish flu, bacterial pneumonia was the #1 cause of death. Not the Spanish flu, but overuse of the mask from bacterial pneumonia because they were wearing the masks. And Dr. Fauci wrote a paper about it. You're increasing the likelihood of infections like staph on the skin, the increase of acne. So the list goes on of the risks of wearing these masks on these children. There was a child who recently just died because of having to wear a mask because the child had asthma. She couldn't breathe. What are the things that your children are telling you why they can't wear the mask? They can't breathe, they're getting a headache, they're dizzy. These are because of the masks. They can't breathe. They're breathing in their own carbon dioxide continuously throughout the day. It's not necessary. A child has a better immune system than any of us sitting in this room. And they are fully able to overcome this. The deaths from COVID, they're not from COVID. It's the protocol. A drug called remdesivir that they're giving in the hospital. It causes pulmonary edema. The lungs fill up with fluid. They're giving the children, they're giving these patients IVs. The kidneys have shut down. Their lungs are filling up with fluid. They don't do a sputum culture to test for pneumonia. They do an x-ray. Of course, it's going to show fluid in the lungs because they have pulmonary edema because their kidneys have shut down.
Ms. Wolford, we'll have to ask you to just wrap up, if you please, for time.
Please, I'm asking you to consider our children because the masks are not necessary. It's causing psychological damage as well as medical damage. Please remember our children and remember our constitutional rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wolford. Are there any board member responses? Okay, at this time, we will move into new business, and I will turn it over to Mr. Llewellyn again.
You have before you policy ECAE. This is our school safety and security policy. The policy committee has added language to define mental health specialists. The Safe to Learn Act has two parts to it. One part is obviously school resource officers and school security employees. We also have mental health specialists, and now the system actually has hired has engaged mental health specialists in the system. And so the policy committee added this definition, and of course it's going to be used in the regulation which will follow next. So this is a first reading to add this definition to policy ECAE.
Motion to approve policy ECAE for first reading.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Frank. Any discussion? All those in favor? Tammy, is your, okay. I guess you would. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Llewellyn.
Now you have ECEAE R1, so this is the regulation that goes with the policy. There's some cleanup here on school security employees and what they do. And just to kind of file this in your brain, we have two types of security officers working in our schools. We have SROs, school resource officers, that actually belong to outside police departments, either the City of Cumberland, the City of Frostburg, or the Sheriff's Department. We also have special police officers working in our schools, and those are our school security employees. They are our police officers, the school system's police officers, and so they need to be regulated by the superintendent, and that's why we have them in this regulation. Also, for the first time, because we have mental health specialists working in the system, we're defining exactly what their duties are in the schools and their responsibilities. And we also have qualification language for what both the school security employees and mental health specialists must have in terms of qualifications. So those are the main changes to this. It's a pretty significant amount of changes, but that's mainly the theme of the changes and the regulation. We're happy to answer any questions for you. This just requires a review because it's a regulation. So if you don't vote, then it just enacts all on its own.
Ms. Fraley?
So I only have one question. In the policy, we have the definition of a school resource officer, and it talks about in the policy that we use school resource officers, but in the regulation, it only talks about the other two, the security employees and the mental health specialist. Is there a reason for that? And if not, can it be added?
That's a great question. So our school resource officers are regulated through MOUs with their police departments. So we don't order around our school resource officers. They're employed by their individual departments. And so this is a regulation, which is the superintendent's ordering around employees inartfully said. But so that's why your regulation is going to apply only to your school security employees, not your SROs, if that makes sense. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does.
Are there any other questions? Okay. At this time, can I have a motion to meet in executive session on January 11th, 2022 as necessary? Motion by Mr. Farrell. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Bond. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. At this time, we'll check if Ms. Noel has any updates for us.
Good evening, everyone. Just going to fill everyone in a little bit with what the Allegheny County Association of Student Councils is doing. Oh, yeah, sorry. So the Allegheny County Association of Student Councils, they're actually in a General Assembly right now, I think, at Mountain Ridge. Obviously, I can't be there, but the Executive Board is discussing kind of our plans for this year now that we have a solid foundation in leadership. Right now, some of our current plans are working on attending a Cumberland City Council meeting with our Executive Board and a few representatives from the schools, and perhaps a Frostburg City Council meeting as well. We're also working on partnering with Allegheny College to plan a youth summit this spring, so we're working on that. And a couple of our ACPS students attended a state MASC Fall Leadership Conference. It's a really great conference. I did not go this year, but I've gone in years past. It's really amazing to really discuss with other student councils around the state and see what they're doing. And we're just really looking to do more community service as a group. We're still working on coming up with some good projects to do and really give back to our community as a association. Other than that, we've seen tonight, we've finished up with fall sports. I'm really proud as a student athlete to have so many of our students in the county go to state champions and state events. We definitely have a lot of great athletes in this area, and it's really awesome to see so many people really work hard this year and despite the tough times through COVID, really overcome these and prove ourselves as athletes. It's really awesome. With winter sports coming through, I'm really excited to see how us athletes do this year, and I look forward, and hopefully we have some state champion finalists. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Ms. Noel. Are there any other board member updates? Ms. Frank?
Oops. Just very quickly, because this will be the last opportunity that we sit before all of you before the first of the year. I just want to thank, from the bottom of my heart, teachers, staff, students, for managing. You know, this has been a challenge for all of us for the last 2 years, whether you agree or disagree. Those are the policies, those are the regulations that we have to manage. And at times, I think our students are much more resilient than the adults are, and seem to manage in the face of what we deem as challenges. So I just wanted to wish everybody a happy holiday, a very healthy and safe new year. And we've got this. Get vaccinated. We're still below 50%. We've still got double the case rate in this county. And we shouldn't be the first in the state for something like that. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Any other board member updates? Okay, at this time, can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Farrell, second. Second by Dr. Bond. All those in favor? Thank you all. Have a good evening.